Greetings, Gulls, and welcome to This Week at Endicott. I'm Rebecca Turner.
And I'm Brian Mallett. Here's what's happening this week across campus.
On Tuesday, celebrate International Women's Day. Between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., swing by the JSB/JSC lobby to pick up an inspirational quote from the Society of Women Engineers and Women in Leadership in honor of International Women's Day.
From noon until 1 p.m., head over to the LSB Makerspace in JSC 405 for some 3D printing recycling. Make your own custom coaster by recycling 3D printing filament.
Stop by Goalies for Oasis Tuesdays at 8 p.m. with frozen mocktails and for Tuesday trivia starting at 8:30 p.m. This week's trivia topics include video games, Harry Styles, and Taylor Swift.
On Wednesday, from 9:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m., join the graduate admission team in the Jerish School of Business in the Judge Science Center lobby to learn more about the fifth-year graduate programs for MBA, Sport Leadership, ABA, Homeland Security, Nursing, Education, and Interior Architecture.
At 1 p.m. in the Cleary Lecture Hall, hear perspectives on the Ukraine crisis. Join Endicott faculty experts for a discussion on the historical context of the conflict in region, the geopolitical impact it is having, and how disinformation campaigns set the stage and continue to play a role, and insight into what refugees are facing in fleeing their homeland.
At 5 p.m., check out the weekly Fuel meeting in LSB 141. Fuel is a student-managed business and technology accelerator that strives to educate, coach, develop business plans, provide business support services, and road test entrepreneurs so that they are ready to launch businesses that will be ready to be successful in the real world.
The Improv Theater Group meets every Wednesday at 5:15 to play, laugh, and learn the fundamentals of improvisation. Interested in joining? Email Kevin Williams at the address below.
At 6 p.m., participate in the Buddhist Sangha. Head over to WAX 114 and learn about Buddhism and meditate with your community.
At 6:30 p.m., the Christian Student Prayer Meeting will be taking place in Lower Callahan.
At 7 p.m. in WAX 114, embrace your own mindfulness and enjoy the freedom meditation. Stop by for some great conversation and self-reflection.
On Thursday at 7 p.m., Catholic Fellowship meets in LSB 201.
On Friday, from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m., all are welcome to join on the Bible study in WAX 160.
Pack those bags, Gulls, because spring break starts at the end of classes on Friday. All resident students must check out of their residence hall by 6 p.m. Enjoy your time off.
Nominations are now being accepted for the annual Mr. Endicott show. This year's show will take place on Thursday, April 21st during Campus Activities Board Spring Week. If you are interested in nominating someone to be the next Mr. Endicott, you can email their name to the Campus Activities Board email account or through a direct message to their Instagram account. The deadline to submit nominations is Tuesday, March 15th.
RAD is a realistic self-defense course which begins with awareness, prevention, risk reduction, and risk avoidance, then hands-on training. Participants will meet 4 times between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on March 22nd, 24th, 23rd, and 31st. Sign up through the link in your BlueBuzz email.
The intent to run form for a seat in the SGA will open on March 21st. For more information on the 2022 to 2023 SGA structure, click on the link in the BlueBuzz. Now let's go to Michaela for some cutting-edge news.
Hello, Gulls. I am Michaela Mickelson, and today we are joined by a special guest who will be talking to us about swords and medieval armor. Thank you for joining us today, Winnie.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't you start by telling us what kind of swords you brought to show us today?
So I've got 2 European long swords here.
That they are.
And this guy is about 20 pounds. This guy's about 17 pounds.
Ooh.
And this guy is what's called a bastard sword. This one was probably, they're both replicas. They're probably used in 15th to 17th century. Keep talking.
17th century, like all around Europe, or like?
All around Europe, and oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. You're doing great. So why is this one a true long sword? Like, why is this called a bastard sword? Just because it's a little short?
It's shorter, and it's also called a hand and a half sword. So you can use it with either one hand or both hands. This guy you have to use with 2 hands because it's pretty heavy, pretty hefty. And with a bastard sword, you could also hold a shield along with it. So you had your shield that you could put back on your back, and then you could either use one hand or both hands and have flexibility.
So this one was probably used more like in battle.
Yep.
Because I don't know how helpful this guy would be.
This guy, so swords were basically used to like overpower opponents, and then once you got into like close range hand-to-hand combat, you could use your dagger to get through plate armor and
unsheath them. I'd
Sure.
love to see them.
yeah.
So that's the bastard sword.
This guy's the bastard sword.
I can hold her.
Thank you.
Do they have names?
They do. That one's Aspera, and this one's Astra.
Ooh.
God, yeah. Stand up for this. There we go.
Okay.
This guy has what's called a fuller in the middle. It would save metal when metal was
Scarce.
a hot commodity. And then this guy does not have a fuller, which makes it
That one is
heavier for
heavy.
sure.
I'm either
Yeah.
just weak or that's heavy.
But this guy's a two-handed sword. And this is what the like fabled Excalibur would have been. This is the kind of sword that the Excalibur would have been
Oh, wait, that's cool.
from the King Arthur tales.
So how much would these be worth today?
So these are just replicas. They were about like 150 each.
Oh, okay, that seems reasonable. And they're like real metal?
Yep, they're carbon steel, which means it's like reinforced carbon on the outer layers when it's forged. So it's basically just harder.
Oh, okay. So how long have you been interested in swords? Like, obviously, these are an investment.
Since 2018, I think my first introduction to like sword fighting was Star Wars with like lightsabers, and I liked all the cool tricks they did. But you can't really do tricks with these guys, or else you'd have less limbs than you started with. But
Yeah.
in Star Wars, they have their saber duels, which are
Those are
based off of
crazy coordinated.
based off of kendo, which is a Japanese martial art. But these guys are used in HEMA, which is historical European martial arts.
I
My voice
didn't
is
know
shaking.
that there was an historical European version of martial arts. I just kind of thought they swung stuff around.
Nope.
Wow. So were these like, which one was the first sword you bought? Or do you have like more swords that we don't know about?
I've only got these two right now because they are an investment, and I kind of have to find like different metalsmiths online. It's funny what Instagram shows you. The algorithm knows all of my weird hyperfixations. So, yeah,
So which one was your first one?
the big one,
The big one? And you
No.
said her name was
Aspera.
Aspera.
No,
Why'd
this
you name
guy.
her that?
Well, the quote, per Aspera ad Astra, so Aspera and Astra.
Oh, wait,
so
that's pretty.
that means like through struggle to the stars. Yeah,
Wait, that's beautiful. Where's that from?
it's just a Latin phrase.
Oh, that's cool. The Latins kind of knew what was up. So, what do you do with these swords? Do you just display them? Do you like role play with them?
I display
Cosplay?
them. They make pretty cool props as well. I just like them, like why anybody likes historical replicas. Like I'm a history nerd, and they're pretty. They look really really cool, like as display pieces. And there's also swords that aren't sharp, used for LARP, which is live action role play, which I haven't gotten into yet. I'm kind of at the beginning of my like actual owning sword journey, but I would really like to eventually save up for like a full suit of historical armor and start LARPing and going to like Renaissance fairs, all that.
I remember King Richard's Fair. Those were always fun.
They are fun.
Do you know how much like a full suit of armor would cost?
So everything, I'm not going to buy it all on Amazon, but I kind of did a preliminary like adding everything to cart to see approximately how much it would cost. About $700.
That is for sure
Yeah.
an investment.
Saving up for that.
And for like stuff like that, like which is your favorite sword to use?
Definitely this guy.
Because he's lighter?
He's lighter and I can use him with one hand. It's just more flexible and he looks cool.
He does look
He's
cool.
got the cool
I like
hilt.
the,
Yeah,
that's what it's called, a hilt.
hilt, yes.
Did they like Oh my god. Did they like grab it by the? I mean, I don't know
It
why
would,
they
yeah.
would.
They would, any way you can hold it that gives you a better grip. So you can hold it with one hand. That gives you better like thrusting power. You could even, they would sometimes use the end, the pommel, which is that
And, like,
end bit, and like
knock them.
knock people. Yeah.
Oh, that's a move.
Yes, it is. And once you overpowered them, you could use your smaller dagger to get in between the plates of armor or in between the links of a chainmail like suit.
Oh yeah, chainmail. So like, when did you start being into like history? And I know you said you like swords because of Star Wars. So when did you start getting into like the history of it?
I actually also love like historical costuming and like
It is beautiful.
any historical like reproduction or like replica. It just brought me down a YouTube rabbit hole one day in 2018. About the same time I started liking sword fighting.
Oh, okay. So it obviously like the Dark Ages, medieval times, your favorite period.
I also really love Victorian era, which doesn't really call for swords, but that's my
No,
favorite.
but
Probably
it's still a really
for
cool
dress.
era. Like the way the dresses that they wore. I have like a fun little fashion book because I like to draw and stuff, and I needed art references for different time period pieces. So like Victorian fashion versus like medieval fashion, so drastically different, which is really cool.
It's really neat.
So yeah, honestly, I just can't stop like playing with this and holding this. It seems rather addicting.
It is,
And
and
I
it's
would-
also a workout.
Do you like work out with this?
Sometimes when I put like, I don't know.
You're
There's-
like,
there's
"Ugh,
little
don't have time
drills
to go to
I've
the gym
found-
today, so arm day
There's
all
little
day.
drills that I've found on like Pinterest. I also bought a book on like the basics of like medieval sword fighting written by historians, and they would show drills like in these like historical like transcripts or manuscripts. They would actually show like these warriors and what they did to like be able to hold swords like this for long amounts of time on the battlefield. And so I thought that was cool. And there's a lot of just repetitive movement. You gotta have big shoulders.
Yeah, I always feel
Strong.
like seeing those fun pieces with knights and stuff. The most recent like kind of like historical piece I saw, don't remember what it was called, but Adam Driver was in it.
Oh,
He's
Last
a big
Duel.
man.
Last Duel. I haven't seen that yet.
That's
but
what it
I am
is.
very excited to. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I am someone that gets bored a little easily, and
It's
they
long.
just retold the same story from like 3 different perspectives. Adam Driver's perspective, Matt Damon's perspective, and the girl's perspective.
Takes an attention span. Yeah.
That it does, and I was watching it with like my dad and my family, and there was some risky scenes, and even though as an adult, I know that I shouldn't be embarrassed anymore, but I am, and it's weird. But anyway, I'm sorry, this is just so pretty. How do you like take care of them? Do you polish them? Do you?
I haven't had to yet because I haven't done any what's called backyard cutting, which means like testing out like your knife edge or your blade edge. When you do that, it'll eventually get dull, and then you use like a wetting stone and sharpening oil, and then you just put
Kinda
it
like
at a
whack.
15-degree angle, and it's a lot of
So kind of
again,
like
arm work.
waxing a surfboard. I mean,
Sort
obviously
of.
not a surfboard, but
Sort of.
this is so cool. Do you know any tricks with them?
Not with these guys, but with like prop swords and stuff. I should have brought one.
Fun. Well, you talked about LARPing, but would you cosplay potentially and go to cosplays?
I would love to like own different like historical, what are they called? Family crests and like suits, and like I haven't done much research into that, but I know they exist.
Do you know if maybe your family has one?
Oh, I'm sure they do. Scottish, Irish.
I'm like Norwegian, and I was trying to find mine, but like in Norway, like my last name's Mikkelsen, right? So like Michael's son. So if you had like a kid, their last name would be like your first name and then son. So I don't really know how the lineage there would work because I don't know how long ago that tradition stopped. But I always wanted to learn more about like Scandinavian lore, and honestly medieval lore has always been my favorite as well. I remember learning that about like, what's it called? 8th grade. Did like a whole project about it.
That's
We
fun.
even had a sword fighting scene in it.
This guy's from probably Germany, and that guy is what's called like a Gothic bastard sword, which would be used in like widely in the rest of Europe. But this guy is pretty in the German style.
So when you found the metalsmiths online, like when you say this was in the German style, did a metalsmith in Germany make it and ship it to
I
you?
don't think so. Shipping would have been a lot more expensive.
Where do you think that they were?
Pretty sure they were in like California somewhere. Yeah, where all the creative people are.
And were these two made by the same person? Like, did you order
No.
them at the same time?
No. They're,
Would you order swords from that same person again, or do you
Yes.
want to try something new?
absolutely would. I think this is Carlo's Armory, and I forget which one that's got, which one that came from.
Do you have, I don't know if there's like a sword community, but do you have like friends that partake in?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but I
If
know I'm afraid to open Reddit, but I know Reddit has
Reddit's scary.
a ton of communities for different things. Everybody knows something about everything, so there's going to be people who know about sword fighting too.
It's so shiny. So why don't you tell us some of like your absolute favorite things about the swords?
Favorite things?
Like, what's your first thing that comes to mind? Like when you first opened it, what were you like, holy shit, that's so dope? Was it like the
Definitely
handle,
the hilt.
the
Definitely
hilt?
the hilt, and I think that's real leather. I don't know, but the grip is pretty cool. And then
Oh yeah, I can see the stitching right here. I
And
didn't
then-
notice that before.
you can tell it's a hand-and-a-half sword with a little like the ridge in the middle. What I also like about just swords in general is they can come like super ornately decorated. You can like with like nobility and like royalty, they would have like gems encrusted into them. I know there's replicas that are made with like gemstones and like rhinestones and like ornate carving, but I don't have the money for that yet.
Awesome. Can I see that other one before we
Yes.
close out?
Sure.
Dope.
The sound they make when they go together, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. So why don't we do a fun little outro? So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today, and I honestly had so much fun learning about swords.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. Bop.
That's all we have for you this week, girls.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you after spring break.